Meeting to order. Let's begin with roll call.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Deschler.
Here.
Councilmember Kolb.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Here.
Councilmember Parsons.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Let's start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do have a couple of appearances today. And the first one is the presentation of the Crystal Sparkles Award. And we have a couple of representatives from the Light of Crystal and the West Metro Fire Auxiliary. If you guys could step forward. Gonna work together on this?
Yes.
All right, please introduce yourself.
I'm Wendy Grimes, and I'm here representing the West Metro Fire Auxiliary.
Breeka, Goodlander, and the Light of Crystal.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Auxiliary and the Light of Crystal, I would just like to thank everybody that entered the competition and for our winners. The Auxiliary had a great time again. We sort of do this every year, judging the lights, and it's a fun outing for us in conjunction with a holiday party. So just to thank everybody. Our second place winner is Deb Walk, who lives on 44th Avenue, and she had an absolutely brilliant display. Is she here?
Right behind us. Lucky place.
Your display was beautiful. I loved your basketball hoop. She went all out with lots of bright colors and was very decorated. So congratulations.
All right.
And in first place, we had Brad Snyder, who lives on Jersey Avenue, and I believe that he did not even know he was nominated. So somebody nominated him. The house was just, it was beautiful. We all went past it. It wasn't all done, but it was just some beautiful gold lights, and we all thought it was, I mean, I don't have a better word to describe it than just very beautiful. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for coming in.
I'm off to basketball practice.
All right, you have fun at basketball. There's a theme going on here. Good to see you, Deb.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, we need to approve the agenda.
Oh, yes, we do. Next, we have an agenda before us. Looking for a motion?
I'd move approval of the agenda.
Thanks, Jeff. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Nancy. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Next, we have a presentation from SUPERVALU about upcoming food remodeling at Cub. So Chad, welcome.
Good evening. How are you?
Chad Ferguson. Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm Chad Ferguson. I'm the president of operations for Cub. So thanks so much for having us out tonight. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I think we have a few slides that we're going to throw up on the screen here, but we wanted to talk to you about some activity that's going to take place here in the market. So 2018, it's odd to say 2018 now, right? But we have to do that. So 2018, it's a big year for Cub. This is actually going to be our 50th anniversary in business. So not only is it a big year for Cub, but it's a big year for Cub and Crystal because we're going to remodel the store here as well. And so we're starting to actually, I see heads nodding, we're starting to do some of that work now. And so we just appreciate the opportunity to come out and tell you a little bit more about it. We're pretty excited about this. This is one of our larger remodels that we've done over the years. And we opened the store here in Crystal in 1995, and then the last time we touched it was in 2014 with a minor remodel. But this qualifies as what we would call a major remodel for us. And so it's going to be a transformation from what you see today. And so I brought a few of the artist renderings here just to kind of show you, give you a taste of what it's going to be. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to get out to maybe our Stillwater location or Apple Valley or our Maple Grove location. We've done similar remodels. So if you get out into those markets, you'll see some activity that's occurring. We're remodeling quite a few of our stores this past year and this coming year. So some new concepts that you're going to see. The one that you see here in front of you, we call a juicery, and it's actually where we'll juice make juice right on site. So it'll be fresh squeezed orange juice, fresh squeezed mixed juices. In some of the locations, we do cold pressed juice. So it's kind of a new thing for us. You'll see it some places in the country, but it's really new here in Minnesota. And so Stillwater was our first location to do this, and we're excited to follow it here in Crystal. And it's something that's really trendy right now, especially here in January, right? We'd love to have it available today. Everybody goes on the health kick. But this is one of the attributes that you'll see in the store. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that we're going to put in a popcorn shop. And this one has been a huge hit. Customers have just loved this. This one we offer 6 varieties of popcorn, and we pop it all on site, get caramel corn, cheddar, all your basics, but then we actually do drizzle corn where we have white chocolate and milk chocolate drizzled caramel corn.
Kettle corn?
Kettle corn. So we try to see how many calories we can put on a popcorn kernel. But it's actually really, really a fun concept, and you'll see it kind of has a movie theater look to it. And this one's been huge. We sold just a ton of popcorn over the holidays, so I think this one will be a lot of fun here too. This equipment allows us to do roasted nuts too, so you can do like caramelized almonds and those type of things. So it's a lot of fun, a little bit of decadence. If you click to the next one here, you'll see an area that we call kitchen, and this is a self-serve area, but it allows us to offer much more from a grab-and-go standpoint. So if you have a late meeting like tonight and you're looking to grab a quick, easy dinner, we have a brand now that we call Quick and Easy, and this is just full of solutions that are quick and easy. So we have things throughout the store where you're able to go in and either pick up something that's fully prepared or something that's partially prepared that you'd finish off at home. So we try to take the guesswork and the hassle out of the food prep. So this is an area for us. And then on the next one here, you'll see this is just a taste, but all of our fresh departments will get revamped. And so you take a look at this meat and seafood with the black Subway tile and the seafood case. And so if you're in the store today, all of those cases will be brand new, and you'll see that look kind of throughout produce, throughout our meat department, into our deli, and it's that reclaimed barnwood look, things that are much really on trend today. I always, give Chip and Joanna Gaines. If you watch Fixer Upper, I give them the nod, right? So shiplap everywhere in barnwood. Right. Yeah, exactly. So things that are really on trend and just a brand new look that you'll see there in the store. And then we have one more here. And then this is kind of the outlook for the front. So you're seeing that we're not Cub Foods anymore. We're Cub, and we're really dressing up the front of the locations with the big red beacon. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and to be part of the Crystal, community. And the things that the support that the customer base here gives us is just phenomenal. And so excited to invest in this store. This one's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it. We've started some of it now. We'll wrap it up sometime around May. So we appreciate your patience as we work through it, because everybody always asks, well, where did this move or where did that move, until everybody kind of gets settled in. But it's going to be a beautiful store, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great.
Any questions for him from the council? As long as he's here.
Excited to see.
Okay.
I can ask one question.
Sure.
So the square footage of the store is not going to change. You're not going to downsize the store at all. You're basically just going to upgrade the look of what you have now. You're going to get rid of the standard metal, shelving, and go to something that's a little more, I would say, commonplace that we see in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, the way we classify it is we're putting a heavy emphasis on fresh. So you'll see a really heavy emphasis on our meat and seafood and our produce floral, our deli bakery, and that'll be all new. And then as you go through the dry grocery side of the store, you'll see things like our vitamin shop, our kitchen shop, and then you'll even see new check lanes. So all new check lanes, a new queuing check lane solution where you're able to self-check out in a much different fashion. So it's a revamp of the whole store, but within the footprint that we have today.
And just one last question, and I won't take up much of his time, but a big part of people's diet nowadays involves that there's allergies. And so one thing that was nice within some Cub Food stores is that they had a specific, gluten-free area of the store and not having it cross-contaminated with other food products. Is that going to be the case in this store going forward?
One of the things you'll see that's kind of interesting, and we've been able to deploy this not just at this store but at others as well, is we're actually able to mark now on the shelf tag. So if you come up to the product and you see the product's $1.99 and maybe it's on sale for 99 cents, it'll tell you that information, but it also gives you attributes, and gluten-free is one of those attributes. So you'll see that attribute for gluten, you'll see it for organic, you'll see it for local on some of our local products as well.
Very good.
Just makes it easier for people to have restrictions to select those items.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Sure.
One of the things we really appreciate is how Cub is so connected with community and fundraising. Is that something you'll also consider?
It is,
Continue?
we have 4 pillars, and one of our pillars is Cub in the community.
Yeah.
And that is a huge piece. It's fun. The reason I kind of smiled is I was in the parking lot recapping community events for somebody that's putting together a newsletter before I came in tonight. And so, yeah, that's a big piece for us as we do that. And so not only with large organizations, so obviously you see us in the news a lot with like the Twins or the Gophers or the Children's Hospital, but we also do it with the community level organizations as well. So it's both. It's not just large
High school
organizations for us.
sports teams, scouts, things.
It is, yeah. So often groups will come in and bag for tips, and then we also make donations and participate in different things. So yeah,
Wonderful.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
Great.
Anyone else?
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, next we have our consent agenda. And on our consent agenda are the minutes from the following meetings. City Council meeting from December 19th, 2017. The work session from that same date. Approval of license applications submitted to the city clerk. That list is on file in her office. Approval of designating Sun Post as the primary legal newspaper, the Star Tribune as the secondary legal newspaper for the city of Crystal in 2018. Approval of the following annual appointments for 2018. Headman County Recycling Group, our city manager, Ann Norris. Local Government Information System, LOGIS. We have city manager Ann Norris and alternate assistant city manager Kim Harris. Northwest Suburban Cable Commission members, we have council member Julie Deschler and city manager Ann Norris. And POPS, the pets under police security, that is Deputy Police Chief Doug Leslin, and the alternate is our chief, Stephanie Revering. Approval of a resolution appointing Mark Ray as the Bassett Creek Watershed Technical Advisory Committee, and approval of a resolution appointing Mark Ray to the Shingle Creek Watershed Technical Advisory Committee. So there's 2 of them for Mark. Looking for a motion on this? Julie?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
All right, thank you. Looking for a second? Elizabeth?
I'll second.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay. All right, we are moving on to open forum. Open forum is a time where the council can hear from citizens about items of concerns and desires to set aside a little bit of time during each meeting. We call that open forum. It provides ample opportunity for speaking. Time is limited to 3 minutes and 10 minutes per topic. So if anybody's here to speak during open forum, I do have some yellow sheets of people who wish to speak on agenda items. We will deal with those people who want to talk about agenda items when those come up in the agenda. So this is for anything other than a specific agenda item. If anybody's interested in speaking, please let me know. Step forward. Anybody wishing to speak at this time? Seeing nobody approach, we will move over open forum and go on to the regular agenda. The council will consider disbursements of $25,000 and greater. We will read those into the record. The GMHC Home Improvement Rebate Program is $31,059. Pember Companies, Inc. for capital project work for quiet zones is $160,431. Para for the employee and city required contributions for pay date 12/15/17 is $52,836. And then ULH for replace police department rooftop AC unit and repair the boiler at City Hall is $52,705. Total disbursements of $25,000 or greater is $297,033.87. Is there anybody on the council wishing to discuss any of these items? Looking for discussion? Olga?
Oh, no discussion. I was going to move approval.
All right. Moving for approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Nancy, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay. Item 6.2, this is on the agenda. It's to consider commercial animal kennel license for 6225 42nd Avenue. I believe we are continuing this item to our next council meeting because there's some notifications that need to take place before this vote can happen. So we will continue that item till our next meeting. Move on to item 3. The council will consider a resolution authorizing closure of Welcome Avenue North between 46th and 47th Avenue. We have our Public Works Director. No, we don't.
I'm not Mark Ray.
No, you're not. John Elholm is here to talk to us. Well, you can pass those to the city clerk and she'll make sure I get them. When it comes time to speaking, I will call you up in order. All right, John, welcome.
Thank you. Get the right one up there. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I thought I'd take an opportunity here to start this item with just a little bit of background of where we've been the last year, a little bit of information on the planning process that we've undertaken to date. As you know, over a year ago, we started a master planning process for our park system, looking at what's out there today, what should be out there in the future. And really there was a focus on the community parks, so the parks that draw people from outside the neighborhood for things like softball, soccer, those type of activities. So we entered into a contract with a consultant a year ago, November, and started right off with some kickoff boards and trying to spread the word at Winterfest a year ago. And we started getting out there and doing an inventory of existing facilities just to get a baseline of where we're at today. Early in the year, January, we compared ourselves to national standards that are out there and held a number of focus group meetings to get a start on what kind of things does the community want to see in the parks. March 14th, we held our first public open house, and we invited the community in to get community input on some of the thoughts, to verify some of the thoughts that we had heard so far. And then throughout the summer, we had community meetings, online public input, another public open house in August, and then October, November was really wrapping up the plan, and then 2 weeks ago we had the adoption here by the City Council. A big part of this has been online information. So this is the blue underlined things are right off of our website today. Every time there was a meeting, we posted the information online. We used Facebook extensively. We used Nextdoor to notify people of meetings. We used an online tool called My Sidewalk where we could offer questions and get responses from the public. That was a fairly successful tool. And then we sent out a lot of emails, just a lot of email dialogue, sending them out to people who have interacted with the city in the past in recreation program participants, sports leagues, things like that. The media has been excellent in helping us promote this project as well. CCX Media and the Sun Post have both done provided regular information in the newspaper and online. And then for each of the public meetings, as you recall, the Park and Recreation Commission does monthly meetings during the summer at various neighborhood parks. Postcards were sent out for all of those. Our summer brochure from last year had a little piece in there on the first open house, and then postcards went out again for the second open house. So really we went U.S. mail, a lot of online, just a lot of dialogue throughout this whole process. After approval of the plan a couple weeks ago, we turned the page then to implementing the plan, and project overview letters were sent to over 700 homes in the Welcome Park neighborhood. So we really want to make sure everyone in the neighborhood knew that this plan that we'd been working on for a year was moving forward. So with that, that's just kind of the public process. I can turn it over to him for information on traffic. But
Any questions for John? Yeah, I think the only thing I would add, there were, for mayor's minutes, I think I've talked about it at least 3 of the times on there as well. So, yeah, we did our best to increase communication the best we could. So, thank you, John. Mm-hmm. John, do you have a question?
Yes, the My Sidewalk application, or the app itself, I mean, how many responses did you receive on that particular?
I don't have the number with me today.
I guess that would be citywide as opposed to just specifically in
Yeah.
regard to welcome.
Right, the way that worked is you went to our website, and then we had a link that says, that took you to the My Sidewalk dialogue. We had quite a bit on Facebook and some on My Sidewalk as well.
Okay. Just one last question. So specifically through that application, you were asked questions directly about the master park process?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next is our Public Works Director, Mark Ray. Welcome, Mark.
Good evening, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, so okay, really just following what John said, the park master plan process included the closure concept from early. All the input was gathered through that master planning process. Welcome Park improvements, the first step to implementing the plan. The big thing is to fit the new ball field in. We have to close the road. This is a screenshot from traffic counts in the area. The pink line on the right is Welcome. Pink line on the left is Adair. Across the top is 47th. So as you can see, traffic volumes, south end are about 1,100. Over in Adair, about 1,000. Generally get higher as you get up close to West Broadway or Douglas. If we do move forward with the closure, the stated designation will switch over to Xenia, and then the one block of 46 to connect the circuit. We'll need the functional classification to shift as well. We did do some traffic counts out there in May of 2017. There were 170 vehicles on the 4600 block of Xenia, about 1,200 vehicles on Welcome. So we're just assuming all the traffic moves over. That's about 1,400 cars a day. As far as what that looks like, as everybody is really excited about that, we put this video together for the traffic symposium. In the bottom, so this is 15 minutes, or an hour compressed into 15 minutes, so it's 4-speed. The bottom right corner is Zane Avenue, which is about 100 cars a day. That'd be the equivalent of Xenia today. The top right corner is Louisiana at 43rd. That has about 700 vehicles, so if under the new conditions it's 1,400, just for every car you see, imagine it's 2 cars. So that gives you some context of what this looks like. Top left corner, you have County Road 81 at Wilshire. Bottom left is Douglas, right outside here is City Hall. So the point of this video is it's all showing the 5 to 6 p.m. peak traffic hour of the day and what those 4 different facilities look like from a driving experience. So that provides context. We can let it run for 15 minutes or not.
Or not.
It is available on the city webpage if anybody's interested in checking it out. I'd recommend it, but I'm biased. So at that point, really the council action before you is to take the formal action to close the road. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark on this from the council?
Thanks, Ken.
All right. So I have a number of people. Do you have more? We had a couple more. This is going to work similar to open forum in that I'd like to have you be concise in your comments. Try to keep it under 3 minutes. Obviously, we have, well, not obvious from my perspective, we're going to go more than 10 minutes. We have 7 people, I believe, who are interested in speaking. So I won't hold anybody to that 10-minute limitation. But I do want people to be heard. And if you have a point that hasn't been made yet, please try to focus on that, because we will hear a lot of the similar, I think, commentary. I'm not saying don't say it, but if things that are important to you aren't being said, make sure you get that in quick and first, because we're going to try to stick to 3 minutes. Okay. Let's start with Karen Lincoln.
Respectfully, Kathy last. Because there's other people that need to talk more than me. They've been working on this long. That's okay.
I will take somebody else, at least somebody else before you.
Thank you.
Carla Henning.
Hurley.
Hurling.
Hurling. Excuse me.
Hurley
Yes.
on Xenia,
Yep.
4831?
4831.
Yep, that's me.
Make sure you speak into the microphone so the people at home can hear you as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carla Hurley. I have lived at 4831 Xenia Avenue for 19 years. I am opposed to this closing of Welcome Avenue. We already have traffic problems on Xenia from people coming off of West Broadway onto Fairview and speeding. There are children, young children, and we've actually had an incident where a disabled veteran was assaulted by a speeder for telling him to slow down. I witnessed it. It's not safe to add that additional traffic. They just seem to like to do speed around that curve from Fairview, from West Broadway onto Fairview, onto Xenia, and zoom. There's a daycare there. There's a 2-year-old that lives across the street from me. There's a 3-year-old living next to me and 2 6-month-old. And there's a lot of kids just in my block, not even talking going down the whole road to 42nd. And I'm concerned, very concerned. I'd like to get some mobile speed bumps and put them in. Seriously. Or get a sign saying, slow down, there's kids present, something. Because it's not safe. And you want to add additional traffic and kill our kids? Something's going to happen. And I dread when it does. We can't handle the additional traffic. We just can't. Our property values are going to go down. High safety concerns. It's very concerning to me.
One more minute if you'd like.
It's just the road twists and turns, and a lot of young kids in their little hot rod cars, they like to think of it as speed curves and speed up, and they're blind curves, and you can't see a kid crossing the street until it's too late. So that is my concern, safety, and that Xenia Avenue really can't handle the traffic. And we have a lot of kids and disabled children as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Yornbeck? Not sure I pronounced that right.
Hi.
Hi, Dan.
Dan Bjorbeck. I'm at 4743 Xenia Avenue South, North. I believe I've spoken with most of you guys over the last couple of days. I want to reiterate that the method that this was brought to our attention through the Parks Department, that they're going to close that road, is highly irregular, that traffic reroute for parks is going to happen. I barely found it opening my mail to do the bills last week. If I hadn't just stumbled across it, I wouldn't know. I went up and down the block talking with our neighbors. There was a lot of our neighbors that didn't know that this was happening, that it was proposed to happen. We don't do parks in the city of Crystal, so we had no reason to be opening this stuff. We got enough mail, it just goes out. So the way it was brought forward, I object to. What I would like to ask you guys to do is to come up with a plan to mitigate that traffic flow through there before you move forward with approving this plan. We've got enough cut-through traffic already. I have followed cars going by our house at high speed for completely out of our neighborhood, coming from north of the cemetery, down Xenia Avenue at 47th, followed cars 47th all the way past Douglas Drive. They're not in our neighborhood, it's just completely cut through. It's going to be very dangerous and affect our property values. I think it's going to be default traffic flow coming north from 42nd Street to the park, cut around the park onto Xenia Avenue, and just keep going on Xenia Avenue up to West Broadway.
One more minute if you like it.
So I think the residents on Xenia Avenue, especially at that intersection, are taking a disproportionate brunt of the burden of the improvements that are happening to this neighborhood with the maintenance facility there, with the traffic that's coming through from that, with the traffic, the light rail traffic that's going to be happening at that intersection. It is going to be loud and frequent, and there's going to be backups, and those backups are going to cause people to deflect down West Broadway or Xenia Avenue. And again, just asking you guys to come up with a way to mitigate that traffic before moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Adam, is it Price?
Good evening. My name is Adam Price. I live at 4706 Zane Avenue North, and I as well would like to voice my concerns against this proposal. Few have already been touched upon. Gentleman before me talked about the traffic from the municipal center. That's something that at where I live, I'm one house down from the corner of 47th and Zane, and I've noticed that quite a bit. I'd also like to add on to the traffic coming off of Broadway with the closure of Welcome Avenue. I think quite a few of us know that when we have to take alternative routes, we try to avoid stoplights and stop signs if we can to keep our route most flowing. And my concern is that with the addition of already the municipal center traffic, that folks will be coming off of Broadway, and they'll learn that if they, instead of going on to Welcome, and I would assume hit the stop sign and take a right down 47th, folks will be coming off of Broadway, taking a right onto Fairview, and then just following it down Zane as a curve goes. I already noticed fast traffic turning off of 47th onto Zane, and then coming down Zane and turning right onto 47th. A lot of people turning off of 47th onto Zane, they speed up on it really fast. You can see it and hear it. I have 3 small children, ages 4, 2, and 5 months. Obviously, the 5-month-old does not play in the yard, but the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old do. And I live on a small 1.12 acre lot, and it's very easy for toys and balls to get out of hand and go into the street. And as a parent, I try to do my best to, keep that from happening, and I play out there with them. I don't allow them to play out there by themselves. But windy days can take light toys, light balls, and throw them out in the street. And I'm concerned with the possibility of additional traffic with that.
One more minute if you'd like it.
Yep, I'll go ahead and make it quick here. My son also gets picked up for school right on 47th, on the corner of 47th and Zane, and he also gets dropped off right in front of my house. And with the mention of the traffic, just raises a slight concern with additional traffic and with folks that I do notice speeding. Him getting picked up and dropped off kind of picks up in a little bit of a concerned area. And this might seem like a little trivial thing, but ever since we had our alleys redone with the fresh concrete, it has made them seem like streets. Smooth, nice and easy to drive down. And I am concerned that with the added traffic with the extra softball field during softball tournaments, we have had parking come down that area and parked on the side of 47th. And I am concerned that people are going to start using the alley for turnarounds or possibly even drive-through. It is very seldom right now, but I do see cars that I know that don't live down my alley that will drive down it. And there are a few neighbors that drive quite fast down the alley as it is. And so that is also a concern I would like to raise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks. Carmen Jacobson?
Good evening. My name is Carmen Jacobson. I live at 4701 Zane Avenue North. Adam's neighbor across the way. Hello. I'm here tonight with my husband, Kevin. A couple things. I really feel like the city of Crystal didn't do their due diligence with informing us neighbors of this process. I've lived in Crystal for 3 years, and just received a postcard in September about what was going on in Welcome Park. And that was the first that I was really notified of what was happening. We had an open house. I did not attend, but my husband did, and we raised a lot of concerns at that time that I feel have not been addressed at all by the council or the city. Also, then we just received that letter here in December, and I think that's why a lot of us are here, because of our concerns. I also oppose the closing of Welcome Avenue. It's a major thoroughfare. I live right at 47 and Zane, which also are very, very busy traffic streets, corners. And with that flow of traffic, I'm worried that more is going to come onto Zane. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Carmen. Karen?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Karen.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
I'm back. I've missed you. I want to say one thing before I get started. I am so proud of everybody that came up, because everything that I did 3 years ago, we're trying to get the neighborhood involved in things that were going on down here. I just want to cry. It's so nice. So I'm here because at first I wasn't opposed to the road being closed, but now I am. And what happened is I've been pretty much at my house for the last year because I had a couple major surgeries. I got hurt at work. So I've been kind of semi-retired and seeing the traffic that goes by. And I see the city workers drive down the street. And I see the big trucks coming down the street instead of going down a road that was made for that traffic. My concern is the traffic coming down my street. Because Welcome is a very busy street. And a lot of traffic goes through there. I mean, it just does. We all know it does. There's got to be a solution to make sure that the traffic stays on the streets that were built for it. I don't want to lose part of my property to widening my street. I don't want anybody to be hit on the street. My whole thing is I'm here asking for a delay until we can get some more information and figure out a better way to position this and a better way to keep the traffic flow going. And I did talk to somebody else. I've talked to a couple of you guys today already about speed humps if it happens that road closes, because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to keep the big trucks off our street and the people going too fast. Also, hold on, I can put glasses on. I had thought about a possibility of doing a one-way street. Yeah, that's okay. Possibility of doing a one-way street if that's an option too, because there is room to do a one-way street through the middle of the park, which you could also do diagonal parking on that one-way street, which would help with the parking situation with the influx of people coming in for that baseball field. My other concern is the basketball court back in the corner. We all know what kids do. We all know what other people do when something's secluded. It's a good place, and it's a breeding ground for trouble. So, yeah. So I don't think I need to reiterate any more on that. No. So my whole thing is, please, let's have a delay. Let's look and see what we can do to improve the traffic situation. Something that would work for the Parks and Recs Commission, something that would work for us, so that we don't have a dangerous street to live on. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
What street did Karen live on?
Welcome. No, Xenia.
Senior, okay.
I'm sure it's here. Oh, here, I've got it too.
Yeah, she didn't say her
4706.
address,
She didn't say address, I was just wondering. Karen, what street?
4706 Xenia.
4706, okay. That's
It's
okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Jean Lynch. Hi.
A lot of things have been said, so maybe I'll make this a little short. But I'm speaking to express my concern. I'm going to read this because I'm not that smart. I am speaking to express my concern with the closing of Welcome Avenue. I live on 4749 Xenia.
Thank you.
And I'm concerned about the rerouted traffic on our road. We are concerned about people using our road as a thoroughfare from Broadway to 42nd. There's a curve right there at the beginning of Xenia on 47th, and where you can't see the entire street. Where you could see it if you're on Welcome, it's all open and people can just keep on going straight. But we have this curve that could be a challenge as they're whipping off of Welcome on 47th to come down to Xenia, and that was a concern. And then it's just, I'm re-editing what other people said. So I'm going to go on to why do we need a new official basketball or softball field in Welcome? There's 2 lighted fields at Becker, and that's where the Crystal Frolics are always running. And we know that the popularity of softball has diminished, and we know that from Welcome. And last summer, when it was getting to be Frolics time, and I said to my husband, they haven't even put fences up yet this summer for the ball fields. And the week of Crystal Frolics, that's when they put the fences up for the Frolics. So that's one weekend a year that baseball field, that softball field is used. And then as soon as Crystal Frolics was over, they removed the fences. So why can't they just stay at Becker? Why do we need an official softball field in our small park where there's no parking or anything? I was concerned about that. Why are we spending public money on the softball field when we already have softball fields?
1 more minute if you'd like it.
And then I also agree with the basketball court should not be in a quiet area, and it needs to be monitored by close neighbors and traffic to ensure that everybody's behavior remains appropriate. But I was just concerned about why we need this official softball court when it's not even popular anymore. I mean, there's no games hardly at all. That one, welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jean. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Last chance.
Yeah, actually, there is right here.
All right, if you could step forward. If you don't have a yellow sheet, could you please fill one out afterwards and get it to our city clerk?
My name is Marty Edelstein. I live on 4700 Xenia, and I'm also opposed to this. For one, I do a lot of walking back and forth in that area, and I work for other people in that area. And it's late at night and during the day, and people don't watch where they're going. People are going fast, and especially around that corner. I mean, on my way home one day, I almost got hit, and I mean, just people don't pay attention. And when you got the big, you got the ballparks, you got the park, and you got all these games that are being played during the summertime. And these ball players take it upon themselves. They go up our alleys. They peek behind our garage. You know, they're parking on our grass. There's a lot of activity in that area. We have a lot of kids. We have a lot of dogs, animals. You know, it's just very unsafe for that area. And I'm just very concerned for a lot of people in that. We have a lot of elderly people that are in that area, and it's very quiet now. I mean, you're going to have a lot of extra traffic coming in and out of there, and people are already afraid to go out walking without having to have other issues, you know, that we're dealing with now, than to have to deal with extra traffic on top of that. And again, with the extra ballparks being in that area, I already got people peeing behind my garage in that. You know, when we have baseball and softball and soccer and everything else. So now you're going to add another game area that's kind of secluded. You're going to have the same opportunity in that area, plus you're going to be bringing in some unwanted behaviors on top of that too. So just a concern. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marty. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Robert Hall. I live on 48th and Xenia. I hope that this is really disheartening when I got this in the mail. I guess I've heard of a park plan. I didn't see what it was until I got this one. And I thought, well, that's interesting how they're closing off that street. Well, where's the traffic going to go? That's my concern. We've all talked about it. We know about it. That's a large increase in traffic from about 100 or 200 cars possibly to almost 1,400 cars. If you do go ahead and spend approximate 3.4 million. I hope you don't on this. And of course, it usually goes higher than that. Jokingly, I'll say an underground road, welcome going under there, or an elevated road, or the street doesn't have to be straight. If you do go forward with this plan, you can still sneak it around and curve it through. It'd be kind of a nice curvy road that bypasses it. Yes, the other 2 ball fields may be a little smaller. I think you could jostle and twist that around and find room for it. And maybe Robbinsdale, I believe there's a border back there, might sell you 10 or 20 feet if you need it. Maybe, maybe not. You can't run all that traffic down and off of Welcome and go through the other streets. Mostly, of course, it'll be Xenia, and going the other way, most likely they'll be going down Fairview and Zane, so they'll get it on that end. Everyone, they've already said cars are going fast already, and I'm sure the police know at night, if you turn off your lights, you'll see guys blow through Welcome, and they also go down Xenia. 40, 50 miles an hour right through the stop signs. They don't even stop, don't even slow down. So I don't need that down my street, and our neighbors have all these kids. If you do go forward, I'll say it again, put a nice curvy little street through there. You're going to need more parking anyway. And that street serves now, I believe it's a fairly wide street, Welcome, between the halves of the parks, for parking on both sides, I believe. I'd have to see that again. You're going to need parking if you go ahead and do it. Would you like me to fill this out?
Please.
Yes.
Will
do. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Lynn? All right.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Loma, and I live off of 46. My address is 4629 Xenia. So I live on that street that you want to put an additional 1,200 cars driving down. My concern is my brand new street that you put in there that you tore up, and it's not level, so all the water runs to my side of the street, freezes. So if you're going to put all those cars down that street that's not flat, because you put a slope in it, how soon is it going to crumble? How soon am I going to have to pay for another street to go in there? I'm still paying that street off, that you decided that we needed new curbs. Also, I don't like the traffic that's going to go down there. We sit out in the summertime and we watch the cars go down. We watch the semis that go down Welcome. That's all going to go down my street. Many people take their kids and their dogs and they walk across the street to take their dogs to the park and their kids to play to the park. That's going to cause 1,200 cars going down that street. All those people have to wait for them to go so they can go to the park. That is my concern. You're going to destroy that road that we just put in, and we're going to have to pay to have another one put in there. Or is the city going to pay for that? Because I'm not paying for a second road because you decide to put all that traffic down that road. So that's my concern, is another cost. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Rosemary, thank you. Lynn?
I'm Lynn Haney, 4528 Brunswick Avenue North. It is in Welcome Park neighborhood. But I'm here also as I am Park and Recreation Commissioner for Ward 3 and also president of the Crystal Frolics. So the change of the park does affect me in many ways. First of all, one of the things that I see as the reason for the road to go is the safety factor in the park itself. I've already grabbed kids that are about to run into the street when there's cars coming down because, yeah, they do blow through the stop signs. And quite honestly, I don't know why that road was ever built through a park in the first place back 50 years ago when they put it in. Secondly, there is also with the upgrade in the park, we want to have restrooms that can be gotten into all day for the kids. And so you're going to have more children running from the soccer fields or the t-ball field
They'd be running across the street to get to the restroom, and they're not going to look because parents aren't with them all the time, because we try to teach them to look after themselves, but they don't. So that's a safety factor with the kids on the street that goes through the park. The ball field, it is going to be the one major ball field in Crystal. There will be 2 minor, but the only lighted ball field once Becker Park is going to be redesigned. Once it'll be torn apart to have the flood, reservoir put into it, whatever that thing is called. That's destroying Becker Park and changing the Crystal Frolics. So yeah, I think it is very important that this field goes in and that it does become lighted. And the parking and the amenities that are going to go with the park, I think, are going to be well worth it to the entire city of Crystal. I do feel for the people who live on Xenia, but I think for the safety of the park and the children who use the park, we need to take a look at those. Okay, I'm lost for words. Old age. We need to take a look at their safety and the other factors and the city as a whole as far as the softball field. Basketball fields can be moved anywhere. But that is a great location for the softball field and for lighting.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
All right. There's no one else wishing to speak, so what would be considered like our open forum of this particular topic is now closed. It's time for us to have a conversation if we'd like to have one, and we can speak to each other, we can speak to the crowd in general. John, you want to start?
Sure. I just have a couple questions for Mark Ray, Public Works Director. Probably the most interesting thing that came out of this discussion was you talked about how the MSA designation would switch onto Xenia, and that would be the new MSA road for that area.
From 46th to 47th. So looking at that map, it would just come over here, 1 block over, 1 block up.
Okay. And then you also talked about how it would increase in traffic from 200 to 1,400 cars.
Assuming every vehicle moves over, correct.
Okay. And right now are there stop signs on every corner of, I guess, on the 4 corners of Xenia and 46th?
Yeah, so I think the comment made is spot on, is we have found people don't stop. Stop signs pretty much across the city, but at 46th and Xenia, I believe there's stop signs on Xenia, but not on 47th. Yep. Down at 46th and Xenia, I'm not sure. I want to say there is a 2-way stop there.
Anybody?
Let's pull it up quick and find out.
46th and Xenia.
2-way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And then
Back to Mark.
lastly, just one last question. And with an MSA road, I mean, obviously the road is constructed to a different quality as compared to the surrounding roads, the so-called, let's say neighborhood roads.
Correct.
So is Xenia built to that quality?
So, excuse me, at this point in time, no, Xenia is not constructed to state standards because it wasn't a state standard road when it was constructed. So when that street would come back up for getting attention, we would look at doing, probably be more of a mill and overlay, be the first step we'd do when it was due for reconstruction. That's when we'd come back and do to a typical state aid standard section.
Okay, thank you.
And when would that be, Mark?
So we would include that as part of our assessment with the whole thing, all the infrastructure we're looking at. So that's not only streets, we're looking at water and sewer because some of those need to be replaced as well. So it's going to be a while before that's up. I mean, if that street was reconstructed, I'd say 20 plus years before the mill and overlay.
Can I have that in writing?
Sure.
Does that push traffic to
Okay, hold on. This is not we're talking now. You guys had your opportunity. We may ask you further questions, but at this point, we need to have a conversation as a council and staff. So
And I would say one thing further to the drainage concern, we would look at going back to a normal crown of a street at that point in time too. Because having the whole street super elevated across there are reasons for doing it, but if it's possible to not do that, that is the preferred option when we reconstruct.
Okay. Anything else?
You didn't work on that. You weren't part of the city for that.
Correct.
portion.
No, I was
so
not.
therefore, you know, there would be something that you would look at and
Right.
try to figure out if it's something that we can take care of in-house going forward. Because we don't like to have standing water. Is that correct?
No.
We don't like to have standing water, yeah, and yes, among some other reasons for super elevation.
Right. Okay.
All right, any other council members? Julie?
Have you given any thought to actually closing that portion of the road just for a month to see what happens with the traffic? Without spending any money, you know, with construction? What's wrong with seeing what happens?
I have no problem with, if the council wants to move in that direction and give it a trial run, I have no problem in doing that.
Yeah. I remember bringing that up at the open house in August when we had the park open house. I mentioned it to a couple, I think a couple staff and then residents who were concerned about closing Welcome. That why don't we take a few weeks and do a study?
So we did, yep, over,
We did, yeah.
Frolics, we did close it a little bit earlier and left it closed for the whole weekend, to see what would happen. We didn't get any feedback.
Yeah, my mistake. I think I told somebody it was after Frolics, so I apologize. It was during and
But we
before.
still could do one. There's, we delay this and.
And we would need more than a weekend.
Yeah, we would. Couple weeks.
So, anyone else?
No, that was what I was gonna ask. Julie beat me.
Okay.
So, I mean, is this something that we have to, you know, make a decision on tonight? Why can't we spend a month or two examining what the traffic pattern would be? You know, answer the resident questions, because I didn't have any idea that there was this big pushback from the residents until just a few days ago.
So I'll defer to the recreation director, John Elholm, on
And, you know,
process.
another comment, you know, is, as just a regular citizen, you know, I hear about this master plan and that master plan. And really, if you don't live in the world, you aren't gonna look at every little detail. You just think, oh, well, that's kind of cool, they're gonna revamp the parks, but it isn't until you get to the nitty gritty, and then all of a sudden the residents find out, yeah, they're gonna close our road here. And that was just a couple of weeks ago, I think, when most of them really got the wake-up call.
Okay.
And now they wanna get their concerns addressed. So I'm kind of for letting them get their concerns addressed.
So,
before we move
before
forward.
John, before you get into whatever answering this question per se, I'd like to talk about this council in general. This council has made extra strides to increase our communication, whether it be, it came from, not from me necessarily, but from some of the more recently elected people. And they said, we need plain language, we need more communication, we need social media, we need all this additional transparency. So when I came here, I came from a relief association that didn't have transparency, and we ended up doing recording of minutes or meetings, both work sessions as well as our actual meetings. And we implemented that transparency here. And then more people came on, and they tried to increase the communications. To sit here and say that we do everything from communication-wise wrong, if you're looking for somebody to do a better job, I think you have the council that's trying to do that and the staff that's trying to implement that. We may not be there yet. Obviously, from what's happening today, apparently you're not going to believe that we have made it to where we want to be. But these efforts are taking place. We've added public hearings on our budget process. We add as many public hearings as we can where we think that people are, what you say, not necessarily paying attention. So, John, can you answer the question any better or add to it or what have you?
Oh, the question that I heard was in relation to timing on things. And really the timing on this is we want to design and get a softball field built in 2018. And to get the grass to grow, that needs to be done sooner rather than later. Because the longer you wait, the less chance there is of having a field that will be usable in 2019 when the ones in Becker close.
Okay. Was that?
Oh, you know, I mean, I get that, but I still think it's, you know, for the residents' sake, it's happening too fast, and I think we need to take a step back and reevaluate the traffic and answer their questions is kind of where I'm at on it.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, John, while you're up here, I was not present at the September 6th neighborhood meeting at Welcome Park, but I heard it was well attended. Several council members were there, and you got some feedback from residents who lived right in that neighborhood, right on those streets. And you heard several pros, several against. And I
Correct.
just wanted to, for everyone who may not have been there, including myself, I just wanted to get an idea of how many were there. And I think it was someone, a park representative or commission member, who asked for a show of hands because we were hearing both pro and negative. And the show of hands at that meeting, and Lynn, if you want to clarify, but Lynn was the one who informed me of this, that people had said that there seemed to be more pro than against at that meeting, at that neighborhood meeting. Potentially. I'm just saying what I've heard, and I want to hear both sides. And for those, it seemed like those who used the park were saying that they were concerned about kids crossing the road. They felt it was a good idea. And I did remember seeing feedback at an open house with the Post-it notes on those plans saying, I like that the street is closing. And I'm just wanting you to hear some of the pro as well as the negatives that we're hearing. Because we're trying to hear both sides. We're trying to be fair and balanced as far as making our decision. And I just wanted to, if you could, just clarify that meeting, if that neighborhood.
Sure,
meeting,
and I don't
the info
recall.
that we may not know.
I don't recall a hand count or anything at that particular meeting, but this went back to last March when we had both without road and with road at a public open house.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you're referring to the sticky notes and things.
Right.
A lot of folks were in favor of removing the road to make Welcome Park a better park.
Oh, yeah.
I do see this as two groups. We've heard overwhelmingly from the park's users over the last year, even more than a year. And the park users have indicated that they really are concerned with the safety of the park and the safety of young children and the usability of the park because of the road. And they indicated that they really prefer to have the road closed to make the park more usable and family-friendly. And now we're hearing from you folks regarding the traffic issues. So we are trying to balance these needs out. I did go back and read back through the Post-it notes and the screenshots of all the comments over the last year and the several public meetings that we've had, and the input is overwhelmingly favorable in to shut the road down. So it's hard to discount that at this point, especially with the communications that we've had. So I'm feeling a conflict with that in mind.
So
Jeff?
So here's the part that I've not been able to get to understand in all of this is, I understand that there's an
Could you
objection.
please
could
not
I-
talk? If you need to talk, please step outside. Sir,
Actually,
could you please step outside if you'd like to talk?
Okay, so the traffic, I understand the traffic concern. I totally get it. But to leave the road open necessarily means putting that traffic through the middle of a park. And you know, I hear this and it's a little bit frustrating, and I know I'm going to be unpopular here, so that's fine. That you can boo if you'd like. But I hear the feedback, and I see, you know, like, you're not listening. Well, yes, I'm listening, because what I heard was at that meeting in September is I heard somebody say that their kid came to him and said, well, why didn't you do that when I was a kid? And what I say is that I have the opportunity now to fix a problem that's been existing for a long time around here, that we have a road going through the middle of a park, and it's ridiculous. It's a silly setup, and it's not right. And we are looking at this from the context of we get tons and tons of feedback. The one of the biggest things of feedback we get, your parks are crappy. The parks look sad. They need some attention. And so what we did is we went out, we hired a company to come up with a plan for us to redesign our parks. They said, okay, put this one ball field here. We'll take those 2 ball fields out of Becker. We'll redesign that park. And this is our plan that we're going to go forward with. And so everything that we've done here is the result of feedback. And I understand that maybe the people sitting in this room are not going to be happy with this decision no matter what happens, but it's not that this came up. Nobody from the council just woke up one day and was like, hey, you know what, we should probably just shut down a road in the middle of the park just to annoy the people in Welcome Park. You know, where this came from is a huge amount of community feedback, and if you could put the slide back up, there were a ton of different public meetings that came up to this. And what I'd love to hear from somebody, and this is an honest question, I'm not sure what else we can do, because we sent postcards to your homes, we sent letters to your homes, this was on Facebook, this was on all over the place, and people just have a lot going on, and just a lot of people just don't pay attention. And, you know, that's fine, but don't come back and then say, well, you didn't give any opportunity. These are all public meetings. There were over a dozen public meetings to get information on this. And so the frustrating part of this from where I'm sitting is that we're listening to a ton of information and a ton of feedback from people. And, you know, you'll get a chance if the mayor decides you'll get a chance. But standing up and jumping around is not going to help.
I'm not going to take comments at this time. We need to have our conversation. No, you will not say it out loud. You need to not comment. Karen, please let us have our conversation.
Okay, I just wanted to put it out there.
So, anyway, I don't know that I really had a point. My point is there's been a ton of public feedback that got us to this point. A lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of effort has gone into this plan. I think it's a very good plan. And you know what? I'm really okay. I feel really good about not having a road through the middle of a park. The people who live just north of there are a lot of roads in this city that have greater or similar traffic counts, and we don't have people dying in the streets. And so the hyperbole that goes along with these arguments is a little bit overwhelming as well.
So as far as some of the other assumptions that entire traffic is going to end up on Xenia, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think some people are going to choose to hit Douglas. I don't see it that way as far as the whole 1400 being the reality. Okay.
What can we do for traffic calming? I was wondering if Mark can speak to that. What possibilities do we have for traffic calming on Xenia? Or in general, like somebody was mentioning toys rolling into the street, which is actually an approved method for residents. Hey, what I've done is per your suggestions, is yes, leave my kid's tricycle by the curb so that people don't just swing into our alley, because they do. We have a blind. I live in an alley and we have a blind corner, and no one can see the kids driving their bicycles out of the alley. So just left a tricycle and people slow down because they know there might be obstacles.
So I don't want to minimize any of the concerns tonight, but as you council all are very well aware, the concerns we heard tonight are not unique to this neighborhood. We hear them all over the city, you know. And so one of the things that we try to do is, the point was to stop out. We know vehicles do not stop at stop signs. We know drivers text and drive across this city. We know that. And we are not going to solve this problem through, additional officers out, because we can't be everywhere at once. We can't engineer our way out of this problem, because clearly drivers are going to do what drivers are going to do. And so at that point, one of the things that's encouraging about this is it does take a neighborhood to come together, because we do know that the typical speeders we see live in the neighborhood. And we know that because when we stop them, when they are going excessively fast, we know their address. They live in the neighborhood because they drive it every day. They're comfortable with it. They know when they're going down that street, odds are they'll probably not see another vehicle, let alone a pedestrian. So they get complacent. So how do we address that complacency thing? I think Night to Unite is a great first step. Having those conversations. You heard it tonight, the street is a pass-through area. I think one of the things that the street needs to be a gathering point. Smile and wave. I used to do that growing up. I'm not saying that's right, but I think making eye contact with the drivers, so not just totally checked out driving through an area, is an important first step. And I don't know how we do that because we're a lot of Minnesotans here. But that is the direction it has to come, is it has to be a neighborhood coming together. It's where when they're going to their house, they're driving 25 or whatever they decide it is. They're not on their phones. They're not thinking about what they're going to do for dinner. But it's a culture change, and I don't have a good answer for that, and we're not unique in that situation.
Thank you, Mark.
So
Nancy?
Just to reiterate, I strongly feel that a study would be helpful. And I'm not sure where everyone else is weighed in, but I'm strongly feeling a need to make a motion to delay this vote for a period of time, a few weeks, not the next council meeting, just to get some more information for the people directly affected by this decision.
What is it specifically you want?
I'd like to make a motion to delay the vote and not vote on this tonight and postpone it to a future meeting.
I'd rather have some action associated with it.
Well,
I mean, we can delay all we want, but what are you looking for?
Do you need a specific date?
No, I'm looking for specific
Close the
action.
road.
What do you want us to do?
Whatever
To do
information
for a study on the traffic. If we could do a study, if we closed that part of welcome, to do a few weeks study and then address that, get some more input, make that vote, then see the numbers, make the vote in a month, say, first meeting of February. I'm open to a date, but I think, given what we've heard tonight, I feel that we should delay this vote tonight. Should put it on hold and table it for a future meeting to get some more studies, to get some more information.
So you want a traffic study with it closed?
Yeah, just to see, like I proposed back last August. Could we close it for a couple weeks, see what traffic does, and see how that would impact those on Xenia? Maybe it's temporary. People see it's annoying, and I'm going to go 47th straight to Douglas now. But
as far, I think we're going to get an answer as far as what that looks like long term. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit different answer. Because if people don't know that the road is closed and they are using it as a cut through, it's going to be worse than people who actually know what the condition is. They've tried to cut through there. They know the road is closed, and they may opt to not do the cut through, and they may decide to go to Highway 100. They may decide to go to Douglas. They may decide to do some different things. So I don't know if that's going to tell us a lot. But what I do know is we've spent a lot of time and money on this master plan for the parks.
I agree. But
And this is the first step in the beginning of that. If we can't get this done,
would delaying this vote
I don't understand.
to a next meeting, though, delay the project?
Well, I don't.
If we
I think
waited
that's
a
been.
month.
I think.
I have a
You wanna
technical
re-answer
issue.
it?
Well, I was a technical issue. We can't count when it's this cold because our equipment
Right,
can't be
it's-
nailed into the ground and it'll freeze and break. So, I mean, we could collect some data with our traffic camera, but we wouldn't be able to reproduce, for example, the count we did last May because we just physically can't do that with winter currently.
Okay. I just wanted to see if it was feasible and allows more time for public input and some more data. Because I don't want unintended consequences. If we see a potential problem, like we may have heard from a resident tonight, have we explored all of those potential problems? That's all I'm saying. Just, do we have all the data we need? I don't feel like I do tonight to vote after hearing the feedback.
Elizabeth?
How far can we push this out without really throwing a wrench in the works?
Exactly.
John, again.
Well, we're really late now. So, yeah, I mean, because the whole key on a new field is we haven't designed it yet. So there's a design and then going out for bid, getting contractors in there, and then getting grass to grow. And you typically need grass to grow for about a year before you can use it. So that could be, it would just not be available then in 2019. The later it goes.
Yeah.
So delaying it a couple weeks would be,
And when it comes to the frolics, and possibly Lynn can answer this better, is there any other park that we could use aside from Welcome that would be able to support the frolics? Would Bassett Creek be an option?
Well, I think
As is, you mean?
yeah, the issue
No,
is,
not necessarily as is, but I mean, is this really the only park? Because I mean, I'm sitting here looking at it and going, okay, this is a neighborhood park, great. We're really trying to make it more of a city park, and I don't think the neighborhood likes it that we're trying to make it a city park. That's what I'm hearing, at least here in this room. I wasn't at the last meeting. So I'm just asking I'm just trying to fill in some blanks here.
the biggest issue right now is the only lighted fields are at Becker, and so those will go away at 19. So if there's a need for lighted fields in 19, or a lighted field in 19, the process to get that going is soon.
Okay.
Okay, so you have a motion on the floor, right? And your motion is to delay for,
to delay for, say, 2 weeks to the first meeting. And, you know, I'm open to discussion and to see if there's even a consensus or a second on this. To delay the vote, table it, and vote on this at a future meeting, like in 2 weeks or first meeting in February. And if that had an impact on this project.
yeah, so you don't have a type of study, well, we don't have a study that can be done.
No, but
So-
if we can collect some more data, get some more neighborhood input, maybe we have a little neighborhood meeting again, just so that people are more informed, and no matter what we vote on it, and, you know, in the end, that you guys feel that you've had your questions answered to the best that we can.
Okay, Julie?
Well, you know, I don't think 2 weeks would give us enough time to gather the data that we would need and that the residents expect. I mean, I would almost say delay it until, you know, the end of April, so that we could get the traffic counters out there when it's a little warmer. I know that that's probably painful to even hear that.
There is.
But I don't want to, I mean, and when
Okay.
we took this master plan and we discussed this park master plan, it was very clear on the table that, okay, we're adopting it, but there'd be no questions that there will be times during this master plan that there'll be changes and hiccups along the way. So
When we
it's not
talked
a-
about that in context, when we talked about that, we talked about in the out years when we were doing the other programs. We talked about welcome as being something that needs to happen first, Becker second. And that's in the realm of our budget, that's in the realm of reality. And we have stormwater, a significant amount of stormwater
Right.
funds, $750,000 worth of stormwater funds that this vote could essentially wipe out.
No, because this is for welcome, not Becker Park.
Right.
How would that
Change Becker.
stormwater?
They relate that directly. We have a community that's interrelated in terms of what happens for the frolics is dependent on what happens at Welcome this year. This is the whole process we've been going through. If we can accomplish a field in Welcome, then we can continue the frolics as Becker's being done. We have the biggest private softball tournament in the state. So, okay, excuse me? In the state, we do. It still exists
We still
today
do.
as the
Okay,
biggest
well, the
private.
president of the Frolics is right there and can tell you it, so maybe the shouting back and forth from,
So, excuse me?
thank you.
So, when it comes to putting this off and taking that away, you're going to completely take everything in the master plan, you're going to take everything for the grants that we've gotten, and pretty much throw it up in the air. And God knows what, if we can get it put back together or not in time, I don't know.
I'm just wondering if there's a bit of compromise here, that we could allow some time for more input, and because I can understand where they're coming from, getting a letter on the 20th of December, right before Christmas. And I know we have worked very hard to try to influence and communicate on all of our channels. But we have a sizable amount here through emails, calls, and the people present But I feel that maybe we need a little more time to talk about this, just to get the information out and people feel informed. They may not like the answer, they may not like how the vote comes down, but at least they've had some more time to get more information and feedback.
I think April.
April, I think, is too far out. I agree.
So
I agree.
I'm trying to figure out what do we have to gain, for 2 more weeks. Olga?
If we do vote on the resolution to approve it, is it entirely irreversible? And what are the steps after the vote? That's my question. Once we do vote, if we do vote yes on the resolution to go forward as planned, is it irreversible, and what is the date of absolute no return?
We would have to,
Troy.
I think Troy's probably the best to answer that. Go ahead, Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'll take a shot at it from a legal perspective. There's a whole score of practical issues associated with it that John can speak to better than I. But from a legal perspective, this is not a vacation of the road. Once you vacate a road, that's it. You've given up your easement, and it becomes private property. In this case, it would become city property, but unencumbered by a city right-of-way easement. And in this particular case, the way it's structured, it's a closure of the road. So a closure of the road is not an irreversible action. So if you do act to close, you could pass a resolution at some point down the line, whether that's a month from now or 10 years and a month from now, you could undo it. So it doesn't do away with that easement. The easement remains. It's a closure that can last for as long as the city wants it to be in place. So that could be essentially indefinite, or it could be a more limited time. Now, again, legally, that's the answer. From a practical perspective, there's going to be plans and contracts and things like that really, as a practical matter, make it unreversible. Once you're constructing it, you're not going to say on second thought, let's put the pavement back.
Great. Mr. Mayor, if I might, the next item on the agenda is related to a contract with a consultant to start design. Conceivably, if that still went forward, the loss would be just the amount of money that they put into it before anything changed. So it's not a contract that we're beholden to the whole amount. It's as things happen, we pay for them. So it would be a little awkward to have that overlap, but.
So if we reverse it after 2 weeks and no work has been done, we have no money out of pocket? Is that kind of what you're saying? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Julie?
Well, if it passes tonight, I can't imagine it'll get reversed. I think if the resolution passes, it's a done deal, and we'll just go forward, and everybody will live with it, happy or not. There's a little bit of a pipe dream, I think, to think that.
Could be. So we have a first looking.
I was just going to ask Mark one other question.
Please.
Have you considered at all the idea, instead of having the road through the park be a straight road, make it in some way curved, so that we would be able to slow down traffic, possibly get people to not want to go on that road at all, and also make room for both fields? I mean, it would look kind of funny, but I have to admit that the road right down the middle of the park it shouldn't have ever happened.
Stand by 1 second.
So let me clarify what you're asking. So you're suggesting move it over and have it another curve?
Right.
Kind of like Xenia already is, which is dangerous?
No, I'm saying slow it down, like put curves in it.
So what you see on the screen right now is the master plan, master view for Welcome Park. If the road were to curve, I guess from a most practical standpoint, the reason that's a problem is because having a road come in at an angle to a 4-legged intersection is tough. You need some straight section to do that. As you can see on the graphic, the straight section is a couple hundred feet. It's a 1 block of city road. We don't have a lot of room to maneuver. And so the idea of shifting, you'd be surprised at how little you can shift over that distance. The other kind of more technical issue is just if you're putting a road where these ball fields are, they're actually in the target range for foul balls.
Oh, that's true.
So there'd be some concerns with that. aside from all the implications in the park layout, as you can see here for the long-term master plan. So the answer really is no. That's not an option.
And one way, would that be an option?
You're still, with the one-way, you're still putting a road through this area, and foul balls, all the same issues still apply, basically.
Right, and that's in some of the earlier feedback that we got, the people who were for that was getting the road out of the park.
Right.
You still have kids crossing the road.
And
that was their safety concern.
And the current road, I believe, is 32 feet wide. It's posted no parking on both sides. Part of that reason probably is to not be downrange, as well as, it's too narrow for state aid.
Okay, just one other comment. I would say the argument I would have for going ahead and closing the roads for a period of time, even though I don't want to do that, at the same time, it might show that there's a different story than what some of the citizens here see. They might actually find that the traffic, yes, I do think it will be, in the beginning, people are going to be cutting through Xenia, but after they realize what's going on, they may decide to take another route. So I don't know if maybe 3 weeks would be enough.
I have no idea. My opinion is that you move somebody's cheese, you're going to see them trying to figure out where their cheese is. You're going to see them doing it through the neighborhoods, at least initially.
Yeah.
And to have that as the little narrow scope of what's reality,
I know.
I don't know if I buy it.
I feel like we should have done it a while ago if we were going to really do it. I mean, to hit the goals that we have set right now. In order to meet these deadlines, it's going to be very difficult to just close the road for a few weeks. I don't know if we'll really get the data we need. That's the concern. I mean, we could still do it. We could totally still do it, but is that really going to help the citizens here? Is it just going to be putting off?
Right. John?
Before I ran for politics, I worked hard to close an MSA road, and I created a lot of issues. I talked to the council, both for Crystal and for Robbinsdale, to buy into my plan in terms of closing that street. Matter of fact, the residents that lived in that section of the street, we actually, counted cars or determined where the cars would go or where they went in the, and actually you can take this time and you can, just say, well, put together some kind of a plan in which you'll keep track of all the traffic that happens in your area. I mean, figure out where the traffic goes. I mean, do they tend to go from 42nd all the way through to West Broadway, or are they coming through the neighborhood and getting to Welcome and then proceeding out of the neighborhood? Why don't we work in partnership with the citizens to figure out, maybe we'll find out that the traffic won't be going around on Xenia. I mean, and that's a question that I have just in general. And secondly, I don't have any appetite for turning Xenia into an MSA road. Because once it becomes an MSA road, I mean, I just see it being the case. And moving from 200 cars to 1,400 cars, I remember back in the day when we went from like 700 cars on the street I lived on and it went up to 1,400 cars, we were just like absolutely just going crazy. And I can't even imagine, if that were to happen. I can't support that, the MSA. My understanding is that somehow or another that, traffic was going to find, the best routes to go through this area. They were going to take 47th, or they were going to, follow 42nd and Douglas, or follow West Broadway. I wasn't going to have, try to determine how to figure out how to get traffic around the park. Maybe other things that we should look at is like having four-way stops around the park, so that, I mean, at all areas that, you have to have, come to those things. And I understand Mark says that people tend to blow through stop signs, but at least, you're going to have someone not at speed when they come to a blind corner. So that's my suggestions.
Okay. So, I'd like to comment on those. Four-way stop sign, I think we know how Mark feels about it. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that's a horrible idea. I mean, I go back and forth on signage and stop signs, but I would think initially it might change some behaviors. And I had a question for Mark on the Xenia being an MSA. We're talking about 20 years out. Is that even something we're thinking or talking about?
For
Xenia.
For a reconstruction?
Yeah.
It would be in the very distant future, yes.
It'd be 20 years and you
as far as it, the reason, one of the bigger issues here is Robbinsdale has designated Welcome as a state aid street. So for us, we can't just undesignate Welcome because it has to connect to other state aid system. So if we were to, like, say, just revoke all of Welcome, South 47th, we actually couldn't really. By doing that, Robbinsdale would also have to revoke its state aid mileage on Welcome from 42nd to the city border, which I'm guessing they're not really keen on doing because they've also balanced their mileage like we have. So that would be very tough. And if you had to keep it consistent, then you'd have to find some other street to run it over to a dare to make it a consistent system. And by doing that, we'd have similar concerns that we're hearing from residents that we do today.
Okay, so the last item that John talked about, working with the citizens, I don't have that same feeling. I feel like we have been working with the citizens all the way through. I mean, we had all the things that we talked about from the beginning of this for the last year plus. So I don't share that feeling as well. Any other comments?
One last question. What if we looked at the side of the park that's right next to Robbinsdale Public Works? And I know it's not very likely that we could get any land from them, but what if we basically shaved off the far end of the park and put a road that went through that end so that it wouldn't be as disruptive to the neighborhood?
So we did. We were looking at keeping it within the 30 feet, because it's a half right away, John, right? 30 feet?
30 feet.
That was done pretty early, and I'm trying to remember where that went. There were some technical issues we ran into that I'm drawing a blank on. John, do you remember, or John?
I would guess water. I mean, their water's under there, isn't it?
So
It's a wetland.
we have, normal right-of-way is 30 feet, or 60 feet wide, 30 feet either side of the center. The city boundary is where the center line of Veracruz would go. So we only have the westerly half, the westerly 30 feet. And there's no way to fit a state aid road because it has to be at least 32 feet wide, just like Welcome currently is. So there basically isn't enough real estate to do the road and the ball field and make it all work.
Yeah, so basically all of this middle area here becomes a little more interesting as you have to compress everything over.
And it would be out of the question to see about the real estate that's just to the side of the park, to see if they would be willing to give any of that up.
With Robbinsdale?
Mhm.
I would assume so. That's their public works facility. And speaking as a person who needs space to store stuff, it's valuable.
It's noodling ideas.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Seeing none. Olga?
I just want to reiterate for the last time, it's really conflicting and frustrating to have a year-long or over a year-long process about this and hear from park users and residents in your area that are your neighbors also overwhelmingly approve the closure of the street. And mothers with young children who are concerned about their safety. If we're talking about the safety of children, I think this particular issue is priority number one, to solve the safety of children in Welcome Park neighborhoods. So that's what's frustrating for me, is that many times people just don't pay attention to communications from the city unless, it comes down to the absolute last minute. We've seen it with street reconstruction assessments. Only when the, some assessment value comes around, people really pay attention. So I wish that could change. It clearly isn't the case right now, so that's unfortunate.
Okay. I'm looking for a second on this motion on the table. Is there anybody willing to second?
Well, what, I
Which one
forgot
are
what
we
the
on?
Oh,
motion
the
is.
one for mine to delay.
Yeah.
No, it's the
And how long are we delaying and for what?
I would
what's your
propose till
parameters?
February, the next meeting, the first meeting in February. That'd be a month, about a month from today, to give some time for more data, if it's possible, feasible.
John?
I second that motion.
Okay. Clarification, February, what is that date?
Is it 4th? I'm sorry, I don't.
Let's get a calendar out.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday?
Yeah, it's a Monday meeting.
We have a Monday
We have a
meeting?
Monday on the 4th?
Yep, February 5th.
Really?
Okay.
It'd be 5th or 6th.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it would be the 5th or the 6th, yeah. 5th, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay,
Quick.
I got a clear question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor. I have a question
Go
too.
ahead. So, what does that do to, I mean, we've been told that we're already behind. What does that do to us?
For John on that one.
It's hard to say exactly what that will do to us, but,
Okay, so we don't know.
but, like I mentioned, the next item on the agenda is to start planning. And whether you want to start planning and do this at the same time or hold off on starting planning, that's kind of the next item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, John. Mark?
My nuanced question is, what's the council looking for? Our council packets or stuff is due the week before to be submitted in your packet, which means if we need to review data, I need time ahead of that, which compresses the data collection window, not to make a bad situation worse, but just want to make sure expectations are met.
It makes it more like 3 weeks, right? Instead of a whole month, basically.
But we lose
About.
in project time, we lose a month.
Right.
But in study time, it's much less. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second on the table. Last chance for comments. Julie?
I just want to see if it's possible to close that road for a few weeks so we have some kind of a sampling of where the traffic spills out to. Is that a foolish idea or not?
That's what I'm,
Well,
that's what I'm pushing.
I guess if-
for that
You're
to be
saying
done
to
during
postpone
this-
it, but that wasn't part of the motion
for a study,
collect, okay.
for more data input. That would
And that would
include a
entail
study if possible.
closing that block for.
Right, it's closing the block.
So that's part of your motion now? Friendly amendment? All right.
Second. I second that amendment, yeah.
So again, so just so expectations clear, my understanding is if you want to move forward with this, we will close it tomorrow.
Yes.
With no advance warning, we'll put the road closure signs up, that'll be that. Should it snow, we're not gonna plow it,
Yep.
and hopefully nobody will rock it into the park. But just so we're on the same page, okay.
Olga?
I hate to do this. I see our police chief potentially having comments on this. I don't know if this is something that's valid, and I'd like to hear more from
You may ask her
Stephanie.
if she has any input, if that's what you would like to do.
Stephanie, do you have any input?
Is this?
I'm sorry.
Well, with respect to my colleagues, I will say it does worry me a little bit. And with respect to the citizens who are here, I completely understand their concern for closing this road in general. But what concerns me about closing it just for a short period of time without any notification to our residents, I just hope we don't find any. And the fact that we're not going, when Mark says we're not going to plow it if there's snow, that worries me as well, just from a public safety standpoint. I think you should. I think the motions are great, and you should follow what the residents are saying. But I worry about the closure piece and the fact that we're not going to plow the street for public safety reasons.
John's got it.
All right, thank you, Chief. John, I'm wondering if you have something that you'd like to say?
No, that's fine.
This is a practical consideration, kind of build on what the chief said. When we closed 51st Place west of Douglas to implement the quiet zone, we needed lead time to be able to get the word out to the school district because there are school buses. There are lots of other entities that kind of need some advance warning. So it would, I mean, I'm not saying we'd need 2 weeks or anything, but we would need to get the word out. That's going to shorten the study time.
Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. I think we're at the vote point.
What if you did it on this side?
All those members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kolb,
Nay.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Nay.
Mayor Adams.
Nay.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Nay.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Okay. Looking for another motion? Anybody interested in another motion? I will make a motion to, yes, I can make a motion. That we will, I'm looking at the wrong spot, excuse me. Approving the closure of Welcome Avenue North between 46th Avenue and 47th Avenue North. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jeff. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Nay.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Nay.
Councilmember Kolb.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-2.
All right, it is approved. All right, we move on to the next item, which is council consider a resolution authorizing an agreement between WSB and Associates for Phase 1 design services for Welcome Park. We have our recreational director, John Elholm, again. So, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Following up on the last item is to move forward with a contract to start designing Welcome Park. So the Welcome Park master plan, you can see on the board. And phase 1 would be the portion primarily in the northeast corner that would include closing the road, realigning the hockey rink, and moving the basketball court. Just additional information is the Park and Recreation Commission did recommend approval of the Phase 1 development plan for Welcome Park. And so the request for the City Council this evening is to approve an agreement with WSB and Associates in the amount of $56,242 for Phase 1 design of Welcome Park. And the design work does include preparation of construction documents for project bidding.
All right, John?
I have a question. It's in regards to the basketball court. Now, I did have a constituent call me. She's not of voting age, but she was concerned that her tennis court is missing. And I talked to her and was possibly suggesting maybe a mixed-use surface area there at the basketball court where you could also hit tennis balls as well, if there was some way in which you could use the surface in that case. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Fantastic. And then, just to follow up on that, so is the basketball court, is it just an open court like the existing court, or is there going to be fences to prevent the balls from going into the woods, for instance? Or, can you tell me a little bit more about
what we're really authorizing tonight is a contract to start design, and all of those questions will be brought up during the design process.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I think on the basketball thing, I brought that up at one point in time. We can revisit it or not.
Absolutely. As part of this process, we can revisit that.
Awesome.
Can I just make a comment about the basketball court?
Sure.
Since we're all talking about the basketball court. We moved the basketball court due to resident feedback that they didn't like where it was today. And so.
Right,
it's just
exactly.
Kind of the same thing.
I think that they just don't like basketball in this neighborhood.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny. It's like you hear one thing, but the overwhelming feedback was different. So.
Could I make a comment, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like where the basketball court is. I don't have a problem with this location. The only issue is that the wooded area behind there has a lot of weeds that has nettles and stuff like that. So if balls go into those areas and kids have to go get them, they could have a pretty painful experience if they have their skin. So.
Let's put a fence up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's actually an item that could be left where it is for now until that side of the park gets looked at too. So
Yeah.
I think that there's options there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hold on a second. All right, any other questions from the council? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion in support of resolution of entering into a contract with WSB and Associates for Phase 1 design of Welcome Park.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Olga. I'm going to allow for another comment to be made from the floor. Carla, you wish to speak on this matter? If you wouldn't mind, fairly short, please.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be real short.
Thank you.
It's not just the Phase 1 project, but it's kind of, I'm Carla Hurling, by the way. It's kind of the whole Welcome Park, the playgrounds. The city of Crystal does have handicapped, disabled children in Crystal, and the playgrounds need to be more accessible, handicap friendly, so that they can enjoy them as well as able-bodied children. And I hope that the company that designs Welcome Park and other parks in the city of Crystal takes that into consideration. And this also has to do, like with Bassett Creek, I heard that the dog park is being moved far away from the parking lot, which is going to make people like me, who likes to take my dogs to the dog park, harder to get to because it's now going to be far away from the parking lot and up a hill.
Oh, it's a little different.
So think of handicapped people when you design your parks. Okay?
Okay.
Short and sweet.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Carla.
Carla.
I'd like to make a couple comments. As far as what happens in Bassett Creek, that is way down the line because funding is not going to allow us to do that. So nothing's going to happen that I know of soon in that respect. So when it comes to Phase 1 design of Welcome Park as well, I want you to, if you got a passion about it, pay attention to our agendas that come up. You know when our meetings are. Look at that. You can come to the work sessions. You can come to the council meetings when we have the actual vote. But you're going to want to look for the work session, and that's where John's going to bring kind of the recommendations. And when we hear from you guys during that planning process, that's the ideal time. So I'd love you to stay engaged in that respect. So you'll start to see where some of that planning happens. So you're not completely powerless. Whatever they design is not the way it is. We have some decision making, and your input will also be taken. So appreciate it.
And to add on, Mayor Adams, about the park meetings every month, first Wednesday of the month, they are public. Come in and get your input in. There's one tomorrow night, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is.
At Community Center, correct?
Yes, it's at the community center at 7 o'clock.
And will this be a subject there?
Yep. Everyone listening to and watching, feel free to come to those. Those are public and get your input in. Yep.
Yeah. We won't be planning anything at this point. 'Cause
No, it's a
Got
great
it,
way
okay.
to see what's happening.
Yep.
But I guess
All right, I got three people.
Oh, sorry.
Let's start with Jeff, Julie, and then Olga.
Well, I was just going to say so this is, Welcome Park is Phase 1, Phase 2 is Becker Park, so I think you'll be pleased to see the playground that we have at least sketched on paper for Becker is intended to be at this point fully accessible
inclusive.
Playground, which is not something that we have in this part of the Twin Cities. I know there's one in Woodbury, but I don't think that there's anything kind of up in the northwest quadrant. So that's where, and that is in the near-ish future.
Yep. Olga?
I was just going to say, accessibility has been a big topic of conversation as we've been planning, so.
Okay. And Julie's not going to comment?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay,
on that.
I saw the arm moving.
You want to get something?
All right, so we have a motion on the floor in a second. We're voting on WSB and Associates for Phase 1 design services for Welcome. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Let's get on to the real interesting stuff.
Council will consider a resolution designating Wells Fargo Bank Crystal Branch as the city's official depository and Wells Fargo and RBC as the official investment brokers for the year 2008. Did you want to comment now?
Yeah, I need to recuse myself from this vote. I work in the
Okay.
industry.
Let's see if I can remember when it comes vote time.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And this is just an annual
And-
designation that we're required to designate the city's official depository as outlined in the resolution.
All right. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, you go.
Are we required to only have one official investment broker for investments?
We have multiple investment brokers, but we work through these primary ones, and then we have other ones that we work with through these people. They initiate.
Okay. Your question?
I was just going to say we got a memo on this that's not in our dealie, but because one of the first things that I ever asked when I got here was like, when's the last time we looked at the bank, and which is the last time that we've gone through this process, and so I do appreciate getting an answer that we've gone back to the bank, we've squeezed some fees out of the bank, and we've got some. We're going to be implementing some new technology, so.
Good things.
I jokingly called it, not that particularly interesting, but this is going to have an effect, it'll have a positive practical effect. So thank you.
Yep, it will eliminate a lot of costs.
Thank you for looking into that. I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Looking for a second?
I'll
Olga?
second that.
All right, all members in favor, say aye.
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 Members opposed? And recused? Okay. Motion carries. Or did I not ask for an A?
I asked for an aye because I didn't hear anything.
All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And then you recuse.
Recuse myself.
Okay, thank you.
It is unanimous. It does pass. Next item, 6.6. The council will consider the following annual council appointments for 2008. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Jeff Kolb, Council Liaison to Environmental Quality Commission, Councilmember Nancy LaRoche, Council Liaison to Parks and Recreation Commission, Olga Parsons, Council Liaison to Planning Commission, Councilmember John Budichevsky, Council Representative for the Quad Cities Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Committee, Councilmember Julie Deschler, Council Liaison to Community Outreach Task Force, Elizabeth Dow. Those are the recommendations for those appointments. Any conversation or discussion on these? Nancy?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Thank you. Looking for a second. John, thank you.
I second that motion.
All right. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Council will consider a resolution authorizing the purchase of a replacement skidster.
The first of 64 items.
Welcome, Mark Ray, our city engineer.
Go big or go home. Happy New Year. All right, well, since I knew this was coming, I figured we'd get out of the way first. So a quick summary of the equipment purchases, in case you want to bulk them all together and get it over with quickly. Last year's theme was long-term efficiencies. This year's theme is just get it done. So a lot of the equipment you're seeing are proposed are heavy-use equipment that all really have connection with park projects. As we look to implement the master plan, try to do as much of that in-house so we can get as far as we can with that. On the utility side, we're doing a lot related to system redundancy. So with that, here we go. Spoiler alert, as proposed, for all the PIR items, we're about 12% under the budget. For utility CIP, we're about 47% under budget on all the expenses. With the street maintenance fund, there's $750,000 allocated to a variety of projects this year. Some of those items you will see here tonight, but to go into that is a whole another presentation on like a dozen projects, so I'm skipping that. With that, any quick questions, or should we rock and roll? Okay. Skid steer, again, it's in the PIR. It's coming in right at the allocated amount. It's a one-for-one replacement. We pretty much use this in most of our operations for picking up stuff, and moving dirt. So with that, the request is to motion to approve replacement.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Would you object to a motion to combine these items from Mark into one vote at the end?
I would not object to that. Any council members have any objection?
No.
All right, let's do that.
Okay. Do I have to motion and then we have to vote on that, or
I
can
don't-
we just kind of do that?
I don't think we have.
Oh, that's fine, it's just an understanding.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right,
Okay.
keep going.
Next one up is the loader. We're significantly under budget on this one-for-one replacement. Again, picking up stuff, moving stuff. It's also used for our snow removal operations. Trackless broom, this is for sweeping sidewalks with light dustings of snow, otherwise just general sweeping of streets and cleanup operations. It's on the state contract, pretty much came in right at the budget amount, which is not a coincidence because we knew the state contract price when putting the budget together. Mower, again, one-for-one replacement, coming in a little bit under budget. The existing one is being traded in, so that cost is being reflected in what you see for the trade-in cost. For a tractor, this is actually a 2-for-1. Not really a funny story. We had 2 tractors because they're both so unreliable. One was always down. And so by having one reliable tractor, we can get rid of 2 pieces of equipment. Total purchase cost here is $105,000. $85,000 was budgeted. We did sell off one of the ones last fall for just under $20,000. We have another one that we'll then sell off when the new tractor arrives. To break even on the budgeted amount, we only need $785.07. Because the other tractor went for almost $20,000, we're expecting to be well under budget with this purchase when it's all said and done. And that's used in turf and rink maintenance. Sewer manhole lids. In 2015, we spent the extra money to have it custom logoed, and so we would be following with that. It doesn't have the new logo, but if we were to go that route, we have to pay that whole cost again to have the logo design, because as you can see, it's put in to the actual lids. So they have to build a custom frame to manufacture all of these lids. With this project, we'll be finishing out the rest of the city too, with replacement of these solid manhole lid covers as compared to the ones that have the holes in them. The biggest thing for this is by removing the hole. When it rains, we have less water going into our sanitary sewer system. We're paying to treat that water, so we're paying less, and also can, during large rain events, exceed the capacity of our lift stations. So it does a variety of things for us. Welcome lift station generator. All we're doing here is putting in a permanent natural gas generator so that if the power goes out, we don't have to run out a generator to get it to pump out the sewer material and move it downstream. Right now, we only have one permanent lift station with the generator at the south lift. The idea is we're going to expand that because right now we have one guy who just drives between lift stations if we have a widespread outage to pump out the stuff and then move on to the next one. So we're trying to increase our reliability with that system. This is a spare pump. Last summer we had an unintended, one of the pumps went down, and because it was so old we couldn't get replacement parts. We had to buy a new one. So now we need a spare because if the main has to be taken out of service for maintenance or any other activity, we put the spare in, so it has to be an identical pump, so it's just a quick swap out. So this is just getting the spare pump that's identical to the one we purchased last year. Again, under budget. For the pedestrian crossing, we've heard of this one for a while. There's concerns about the pedestrian crossing at 36 and Welcome. Our police department has done enforcement out there, but because it's basically a 5-lane road section on the busiest section of City Street, it's a concern. And so we also have some known users out there that do cross to go to work or school or volunteer. And so because this is I'm going to go ahead and say it's a critical crossing in terms of risk, we want to go a little bit further and get some actual study and recommendations done so it's well documented why we're doing what we're doing. Transmart is the company we got a professional services quote from. Funding's coming out of the street maintenance fund, and we've allocated that in all of our projects for this year. Trip hazard removal, this is identical to last year's project, just shaving down trip edges, $20,000, same company as last year. For reference, this was the map you saw last year, basically all of Winnetka that we own. This was all completed in 2017 with the $20,000. We also got the community center cleaned up, and then right in the area of Bass Lake Road and Broadway, some of that was done. I think it was within like 200 feet of the intersection. So this summer's project will pick up where that left off and work to continue Bass Lake Road, West Broadway, as well as kind of around Becker Park there and then to the northwest quadrant of the intersection. Basically, we're trying to get our higher pedestrian areas to remove the trip hazards to make them accessible for all users, as well as ease our winter maintenance operations. Flashing yellow arrow at Winnetka and 36. We're going to be doing a joint mill and overlay on 36 with New Hope this summer. We reached out to the county to see if we can put in flashing yellow arrows. And then also they brought up the idea of doing video detection, which means we won't have to pay to replace the loops in the pavement. We can just capitalize on them being out there and installing video detection, which will provide us some operational benefits as well. Similar to this last fall, Crystal will buy the equipment, county will install it at their cost, and then we're going to split the cost 50-50 with New Hope. So what we're into it for is just under 20 grand, basically. That is it.
All right. Questions on any of those items? Any of those items? John?
Just the manhole covers. I saw you had 2 bids for the manhole covers, but that still includes the Crystal logo in the.
Yeah, yes, it does. Because we paid the upfront cost the first time around, there's no additional cost for the custom logo because we already paid that, and this order is large enough that we get the bulk rate, basically.
And that's in I take it the low bid for that is the company that produced the manhole covers previously.
Correct. It's actually a weird deal. ESS Brothers buy them from the Neenah Foundry, and for some reason, Neenah Foundry charges us shipping, even though ESS doesn't. So that's where the difference in cost came in. So they're still coming from Neenah Foundry, in case you're wondering.
Julie?
Is it worth asking that company if they would just kind of include the cost of the new logo in the manhole cover order? I mean,
There would be an
sometimes
additional-
they'll do it in order to get an order. I've done it in my industry years ago.
We're a captive audience with them, so there would be a markup for that to do it. And then we'd actually have 3 different style manhole covers. Not this really matters. We'd have the old logo, the new logo, and then no logo man covers throughout the city.
It's okay. It'll be a historical piece that will carry on for generations.
But that is well said.
All right. Any other comments relating to any of these items?
Great work.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I'm seeing this right, the motion would be to approve the resolutions reflected on agenda items 6.7 through 6.17.
Yep, that's what I have as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Sorry.
All right. Okay.
I'll make that motion to approve.
What Troy said.
What
Item
We all
6.9
say.
through 617. All right.
I'll second.
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy. Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Members opposed, say nay. Wow.
That's efficient.
That was
Nice. Thank you.
Like that.
Great idea.
You're back again?
All right, next item, the council will consider a resolution authorizing an agreement with WSB and Associates for the design services of Becker Park redesign project.
Well, good evening again.
Yeah, hi.
Back here tonight with Becker Park, Phase 1. As you know, that's a much bigger project. It will take a lot longer to design, so getting started on that right away is an important thing as well. The master plan for Becker Park does call for removing the softball fields and replacing it more as a community park kind of destination for events, an inclusive playground, and a lot of those type of features. What we're looking at for Phase 1 is to do the area you see here. So that would be a lot of the sidewalks, plaza areas, performance area, inclusive playground. The funding for this is it is a combination project with the stormwater project. Stormwater project is around $2.5 million, and the park project for Phase 1 is about $2 million. So the total project expenditures would be $4.5 million. We did receive 2 proposals on this, and WSB and Associates submitted the best proposal. And so the request for the City Council tonight is to approve an agreement with WSB and Associates, and that's the same firm that did the master plan, in the amount of $190,689 for Phase 1 design work of Becker Park. And this project will include preparation of construction documents for project bidding as well as construction oversight. So this firm will be leading us through the whole process. So with that,
Okay, question relating to that. They'll do construction oversight. Does that mean they'll be managing Crystal people as well, or?
no, they'll be
How does that
managing they would host the construction meetings where city staff and contractors and everything get together and just go over,
This is your part, that's my part, got it.
right, and
They're managers.
here's a question on this, let's everybody get together on how do we solve that?
Not that I needed to know that, but I was curious. Julie?
So when would this work then kind of be finished? The whole phase one of the Becker Park, would that be like 2020 then?
It would be done by the end of 2019.
There's no surprise road closures, is there, at this plan?
You know, coincidentally, there was a road through Becker Park that was closed at one point. I don't know when, but
I'm just thankful that we don't have to deal with that one this time. So thank you for whoever did it last time.
So, help me out here. 2019 is when phase one of Becker Park is
Correct.
completed.
correct. So we'll be designing it through 18. The idea is that we would go out for bids in the winter of 18 into 19, and then do construction work in 2019.
And that includes the water, stormwater drainage?
Correct, that is, yeah,
And
that's a
it
big part of the
includes
project.
putting it back together?
I'm sorry?
And it includes putting it back together?
Yes.
Okay.
In that area.
Had me
that
there for
area
a minute.
Wait, what? Putting it back together? Let's talk about
We
that.
thought that would be an important piece, is to put it back together.
I just, when you start phasing things, I want to make sure I have a good understanding as to what's in that phase, because, I don't know, I've seen people break things out differently. So, thank you.
Right.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none. Go ahead, Julie.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution in support of entering into a contract with WSB and Associates for Phase 1 design of Becker Park.
All right, thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Elizabeth, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Yep, thank you, John. Next, the council will consider a second reading and adoption of an ordinance approving a unified development code, the UDC, to replace the zoning subdivision and sign ordinance and resolution for a summary publication. City Planner Dan Olson is here to address the council. Welcome, Dan.
Yes, thank you. Happy New Year.
Missing out on the fun, so it's about time you join in.
Yeah, lots of activity tonight. I don't have a formal presentation on this because you've seen this quite a few times, but I'll just say this is the second reading of this ordinance for Chapter 5, and tonight you're being asked to take two actions for this item, which are, the first is to adopt the ordinance on second reading, and the second action is to adopt a resolution that would allow for the publication of a summary of the ordinance in the Sun Post. I'll just also add that just to acknowledge that we had a discussion at the first reading about what I would call alternative housing types, like accessory dwelling units and such.
Yep.
And we are going to be bringing that item for discussion in the next month or so to the council. So we haven't forgotten that, and we'll continue that discussion. But just wanted to bring that up too. So staff is recommending adoption of the ordinance.
Okay. We actually do have somebody who's, well, let me deal with council, or not deal with council, I apologize. Any comments from the council? Questions?
Just glad that it's a summary posted in the Sun Post, not.
Yeah, that would be an expensive bill, I think, yeah.
It would be.
Yeah.
So, Elena Gibbs, are you still here? Like to talk about accessory dwellings?
I'm so sorry.
Alana Gibbs, I live at 6400 Lombardy Lane. I'm just here to say that I am interested in doing an accessory dwelling unit, so it's not a theoretical concept. There's an actual live person
He's a live person.
interested in doing that. So,
Okay.
so it sounds like that's actually not happening at this.
Yes, it's in there. It's in the Unified Development Code, yep.
Okay.
So there are some provisions for accessory dwelling units in the existing code. We are looking to potentially expand those cases. So I think probably that guy right there is the best guy to get in contact with if you haven't been already. To make sure to see where yours falls in
Yes.
where it is, or if there's something specific that we don't allow you to do that you do want to do, let's figure that out so that we can hopefully craft around that. Because we have been having mostly theoretical conversations so far. So if we had a concrete example of like, this is what somebody's trying to do, and this is where your code says you can't do it, I'd like to know that.
Would that happen through redesigning the code itself, or would it be a variance process, or?
I think it would be designing the code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in process of doing that. There was some language on there, I think, that we hadn't thoroughly discussed as a council, so we're going to go back and take a look at some of that language and look for that, go to Dan and find out when that work session is.
Okay.
You can even come and listen to that discussion.
Okay.
And you can be a part of it in that respect and give Dan your input whenever you feel like it. He's there. He's our staff person too, so
Okay.
yeah, use him. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I just make a real brief comment?
Yeah.
Your planner was gracious enough to thank me at the first reading for my work on this, but I'd absolutely be remiss if I didn't thank him. And I think you all know this, but Dan put in so much work on this. I mean, this is really Dan's effort more than anyone else's. So he really deserves the credit for this.
Okay.
Kudos,
Thank
Dan.
you so much, Dan.
We're so grateful.
Yeah, I think it turned out well.
I take back my thanks.
I'm not going to go that far, but thank you, Dan.
Over to Troy, or Dan, wherever it is.
All right, looking for a motion. We have two, remember. Start with the first. Anyone? Olga?
I'll make that motion
And that is
to approve, what?
second reading.
Yes, to approve the second reading and adoption of an ordinance approving a unified development code.
All right, thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Nancy, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. For the second motion on this item,
I'll make the motion approving the summary language for the publication of ordinance 2017-07.
okay, thank you. John, sorry I missed you on that last one.
Second that motion.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. That's it for that one. But you're still here, which means you're on the next one.
Yes, I have the next one too.
Why don't you take it away?
Okay, this one is related to the ordinance you just adopted. It's approval of a tree list. Within the Unified Development Code, it references an approved tree list for the city. This list has 52 tree species. It's in your packet there. And I've worked with some people from our Parks Department to develop this, as well as we already had kind of a list going out already. But this was listed as a variety of tree species that's helped to reduce the domination of one species over another. You may be aware that if the city experiences an insect infestation or a disease that affects a dominant tree species, then the city could lose many trees at one time. You've seen this with the emerald ash borer more recently. So we're trying to prevent that sort of thing happening, where we lose a lot of trees at one time. So this list has a variety of trees that we believe can withstand Minnesota weather conditions, and the list would be used for city projects that we have, new residential subdivisions such as the ones we've been seeing here lately, that in the south part of the city, and then also for new commercial development. So it's basically for new development, not existing development, but. As I said, the purpose of here is just really to reduce the domination of one tree species over the other. So that's really the purpose of this, and staff is recommending that you adopt the resolution approving the tree list.
Okay. So on this tree list, are we losing some trees that we're already using? Or pretty much what we've been using is inclusive in this list?
I guess one thing that's not here necessarily is maple trees. And the reason that was specifically left out, because we have, from what I understand, about 40% of the trees in the city are maples. And so we're trying to move away, as I said, from the domination of one species over another and really give people an option to have some other trees on their property. And sometimes people just automatically pick trees that they're really familiar with, but I think this really gives them a good a good choice to work with their developer, their builder, to choose other trees, so.
Okay, so that's one.
It's nice
Nancy?
it's nice to see the variety, and I'm just curious, is there a place for people to go and see what these trees look like?
Well, I would say tree nurseries, of course. Online is good. I mean, there's lots of information
Or come to Arbor
online.
Day Festival where we give some
Yeah.
samples away, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that could be true, too.
Okay, cool.
Does this include, it doesn't include shrubs, or does it?
No, it's just trees.
Trees.
Trees only, yep.
All right.
I have a quick one.
Olga?
What happens if someone plants an unauthorized tree?
Well, this is, yeah. This isn't necessarily for existing development, like existing lots, but it's when somebody comes in and they subdivide 10 lots, for example, or they're doing a commercial project. Then we work with them very closely, so they're very aware of what the trees are on the list, and it shouldn't really be a surprise. But this isn't going to be for just anybody who's planting a tree in the city necessarily. So.
Great question, great clarification. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You'll notice the box elder tree is not on the list.
Yeah, Bart's heartbroken over that, or Bug.
Okay, we're talking about Bart.
Had to
6:20.
get it.
Julie?
I'll make a resolution adopting the approved tree list.
Right, thank you. Looking for a second, John?
I second that motion.
All right, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, well, welcome back John Sutter, Community Development Director. He will talk about Brookland Park for Environmental Health Services in 2018.
Thank you, Mayor Adams, council members. Actually, I will try to talk very little about this because it is only a $2,000 contract, and it is a routine annual thing that we do with the city of Brookland Park. Rather than have our own environmental health staff, we rely on they have a sizable department that deals with that and provides the expertise we need, basically on an on-call basis. And as you can see from the staff report, we don't, it isn't a very expensive contract for us, and so staff recommends approval of the contract.
All right, thank you, John. Questions? Seeing none, motion? Julie?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with the City of Brooklyn Park for environmental health services for the year 2018.
Thank you.
And
Nancy?
I'll second.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I have one question. So in this situation, like for instance, asbestos, this person would be the individual that would make that determination in a building?
No, for asbestos, we actually would contract with an asbestos testing lab. They come out and take their own samples. This is more for, in addition to the massage licenses, which is kind of a routine thing, the rest of it, the on-call part, is if there's a complaint about a garbage house and we need somebody with environmental health expertise to inspect the house and determine what needs to be done to make the house habitable again. A very rare type of occurrence. But for things like asbestos, we would rely on a private contractor to assess it and then abate it if needed, when we're doing a demolition, for example.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Approved.
Yeah, it is approved. Sorry, I missed your question. Item 622, we will consider a resolution adopting the firm Bergen KDV for auditing service for the 2017 financial statements. Ann, are you going to talk on this?
Sure. We are required to do an annual audit of our finances, and we're in the third year of a four-year arrangement with Bergen KDV to do the 2017 audit, and the cost for that is $35,600. So you authorize the approval, or the council authorized the four-year deal in 2014 or 15. I can't quite remember. But anyhow.
All right. So is Bergen a new name? I don't recognize
Yes,
it.
they
Thank
merged
you.
with another, yes.
So easy to KDV. I mean, that was just
And they ran
rolls
the
off.
initials right after
Right,
Bergen.
yes.
It's hard to
Yeah,
read
they
that.
push it all together.
All right. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Nancy?
I'll make a motion approving the firm of Bergen KDV for auditing services for the 2017 financial statements.
Okay, second, Julie?
Second.
All right, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. When's the last time we saw 22 items? Was it last January?
Yeah.
I think it was. All right, we got a few announcements. The city council will have a work session January 11th at 6:30 PM in the conference room here at City Hall. The council offices are closed Monday, January 15th for the observation of Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And then the next citizens input time will be Tuesday, January 16th at 6 PM in the conference room A at City Hall. That's a place that's off camera that you're welcome to come talk to me or any of the other council members and our city manager off camera. The next city council meeting will be Tuesday, January 16th at 7 PM here at City Hall. CBA, the Crystal Business Association, will meet Wednesday, January 17th at 8:30 a.m. at the Crystal Public Works. That's 501 West Broadway. Reminder that recognizing neighbors nominations are being accepted until Wednesday, February 14th. Forms are available on the city website and at the community center. Selected neighbors will be recognized at the Crystal Ball, which is on Saturday, March 24th at the Crystal Community Center. And the Crystal Ball will be held on that same date I just read. And tickets are available at the community center as well as online. Boy Scouts and Girl Scout troops are welcome to come lead the Pledge of Allegiance or do a flag ceremony before our meeting begins. Last item, just a reminder, city council meetings and work sessions are open to the public, and current and previous meetings can be viewed or listened to on our website. Any other announcements? Julie?
On January 28th at New Hope Bowling Alley, New Hope, we're going to be having our annual fundraiser for the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. So it'll be Sunday at 11 o'clock with lunch and raffle prizes to follow at the VFW. And I'll be getting a flyer out sometime early next week, kind of blitzing the social spots. Because it's an important fundraiser for our group so that we can continue to offer services to the veterans in our community. And we do have a few Crystal residents that rely on those services. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Nancy?
Just an announcement of thanks. I didn't get it out before when we had the Crystal Sparkles Awards, but wanted to give a shout out to Sean Smith, who on social media, Nextdoor and Light of Crystal on Facebook, offered residents who were unable to do it themselves to help them hang lights on their home. And he helped several houses, and the neighbors were so grateful, put photos up of the work that he helped with. I just want to give him a public shout out of thanks.
Yeah. Great place for neighbors helping neighbors.
Yes.
Just thinking out loud.
Just a hint.
All right. Any other announcements from the council? Seeing none, looking for a motion to adjourn. John?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Olga?
Second.
Thank you. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a great evening.